Hello everyone, welcome to today's sections. My name is Kuo-Chien Lee. Today, we are going to introduce you some advanced HTML techniques that allow you to interact with your web page. Here are today's outlines. A business site should create the best impressions possible on customers while being easy to use. With the definition of Web 2.0, nowadays, websites should maintain the capabilities of interactions to keep users interested. These sessions will show you some HTML tricks designed to give you interactions for your web pages. From the basics, such as using frames, to more advanced techniques, such as using dynamic HTML. You will learn some powerful HTML effects, such as creating image maps, using links to create navigation bars, updating text on the fly, drawing logos, downloading images on the fly, creating visual effects, etc. to help you boost your web pages with interactions. To obtain users' eyesight, an impressive logo is always a way to start with. However, a customized logo can cost a lot to have designed for a small business. Fortunately, we can find many websites online that will help you draw your own logos and buttons. The website Kuotex, www.kuotex.com, is one of the sites that provide these kinds of services. Although you can't see it in the figures, animated styles. The burning styles, for example, is made of animated frames. To add text to your logo style, just click that style. We will use the burning style here to show you the effects and the results rendered by the website. And enter the text you want. In this example, we enter HTML is burning for the designed logo. Then click the render logo button. Kuotex will draw your new logos and display it as you see in the slide. To download the image, click the download image link, or right-click the image and select the Save Pictures as for IE, or Save Image as for Firefox. Menu items. By default, your logo is created as a JPG file. To create an interactive web page, the command form we are using are buttons and input text field. Through the use of dynamic HTML, it allows you to update text and images in your web page. Let's get started with dynamic HTML by showing how to use buttons to interact with your web page. In this example, we will create 3 buttons by using JavaScript to handle interactions. In the later sections, we will look into JavaScript for more detailed functionalities. Here we are looking ahead by using some basic ideas of JavaScript. But a lot of dynamic HTML demands it. We start with an example web page with the test. Click one of the buttons in the div element, which is used in HTML to mark sections of text. The div tag defines the divisions or sections in the HTML documents. It is commonly used to mark the sections that changes its content based on the user's interactions. The div tag is used to group block elements to format them with CSS. Followed by the div sections, we declare 3 buttons using input elements. The input tag specifies an input field where the user can enter data. Input elements are used within the form elements to declare input controls that allow users to input data. An input field can vary in many ways, depending on the type attributes. Here we set the input elements to the type buttons with corresponding text values. For each button, we set the onClick attributes to related JavaScript functions, which we will show you later on how to write the JavaScript functions. Until now, your web page is up and running as shown on the slide, except for the reactions after you click on the button. And button 1 is connected to the JavaScript function B1 clicked, button 2 to B2 clicked, and button 3 to B3 clicked. And now we need to write those functions in the script elements in the page's head sections. We specify 3 corresponding functions as shown in the slide. Whenever the function is triggered, it will call the function and run it. That's how we create the interactions. When the user clicks the button, the web page will trigger the corresponding function. The function will perform the change. What we want to do here is, when the user clicks a button, we will replace the text in the div elements. So we start by getting a JavaScript object corresponding to that div element. And we use document.getElementById to retrieve the div elements from the main body. And once we get the handle of the elements, we use variable div1 to save the information and use it inside the functions. Through the handle, we can control the element remotely in the functions, such as changing the content or attributes. And now we can use the div object's inner HTML property to assign the new text. And the text will automatically appear in the web page as shown in the slide. We change the text from click one of the buttons to whatever the button is clicked text information. Clicking one of the buttons causes the web page to update the text in the div element instantly. This is the simple interactions we can do using dynamic HTML. A good way to test these example HTML documents is to copy the sample code, save the code to to an HTML file, and then open the file in browsers such as Internet Explorer. However, when you do this, the yellow security bars may appear on the top of the page with the explanations that Internet Explorer has blocked content to protect your security. Because there is JavaScript in the page, in this case, right-click the security bar, select Allow Blocked Content, and click Yes. You will then see a message box explaining the dangers of allowing script to execute within web pages. And click Yes to close the message box. And now you can execute the script by clicking the buttons. Depending on your security settings, you typically won't see the problem on pages you installed on your ISP and download from the web. And we have shown you how to instantly update the text using dynamic HTML. Not only the text, you can also update images using the same method. And this time, when the button is clicked, we will replace the text in the div elements with HTML for the image element corresponding to the requested image. In this example, we use CoolText website to create 3 image files. We change the inner HTML to image elements as shown in the slide. And this is a good technique if you want to display, say, product images. Screen space is always at the premium in web pages, and downloading images as required makes good use of that scarce resources by avoiding crowding too much into your web pages. When the new image element is returned to the web page, the browser will automatically download the new image and display it. And these images must be accessible to the browser. We are just giving the name of the image files in this example's code. So the browser will assume the image is in the same path, directory or subdirectory at the web page on your ISP. If you are storing the image someplace else, be sure to give the full URL of the image like this: div1.innerhtml equal image source equal http myisp/myname/b1.gif. When the user clicks a button, the corresponding image is downloaded and displayed. Another common interactions we have seen on the web page is the mouse movement. When the mouse runs over some text, the text will change colors as mouse rolls over it. And we will show you how to do it using the simple JavaScript function code. Here is an example. We will specify a string text and set it to turn its text blue when the mouse runs over that text. it starts with the regular text and then added the span elements around it. Now we will make that text active, which we do by setting the span elements on mouse move over, active when the mouse enters the elements attributes, and on mouse out, active when the mouse leaves the elements attribute. To a little JavaScript. And in the JavaScript refers to the current elements, which is the span elements. And list the style, the color refers to the span elements color style property, which we are setting to the brute when the cursor moves over it, and break when the cursor moves away. The result as shown in the slide. And you can modify other properties of text using this same technique. For example, use the list.style.font size properties to change the size of your text when the mouse rolls over it. The span element is usually an inline element used when you want to work with text that's inline. That is part of a line. The div element is a multi-line element when text is contained in its own block element. That is, gets its own lines in the browser's display. And links are a fundamental part of any business website that's larger than a single page. You need to give the user some ways of navigating from page to page. The most basic link just appears as underlined text and uses the A element with the href attributes set to the target of the link. A href equal mypage.html, link to my page. This link appears as the text link to my page in the page, and when clicked, make the browser navigate to the document mypage.html. And because no full URL is specified as the target of this link, mypage.html, the target, must reside in the same path as the web page documents that reference it. And you can also make images into links by surrounding an image element with an A element. And note, we are giving the image no border to avoid having the browser draw a heavy line around it to indicate that it's a hyperlink. And navigation bars are usually made up of a number of link-enabled images arranged in an HTML table to keep them straight no matter how the page is resized. And here is an example that includes horizontal menus. And note that we are also using tables to make sure the menus flank the enclosed text in the page. And using the width attribute of the TD element to make sure the text takes up most of the page. And note also that we are setting the target attribute of the A elements to top indicating that when the link is clicked, the new page should fill the browser's windows. And you can also put together image maps using link-enabled images and HTML tables. And we will see the standard ways of creating image maps in the next chapter. An image map can be a useful way of presenting links to the users in special situations. For example, you could display a map and allow users to click a particular locations within the map. Then transfer them to a page where the cousins of that locale is discussed. And HTML frames are great for making a complex site more compact, because they can display multiple pages in the same browser window. For example, take a look at the example we show you in the slide. The web page is usually designed in this kind of sections. The left-handed side frame works like a menu. Clicking a hyperlink on the left frame opens a new page in the frames on the right, as shown in the slide. And this is a great technique to give customers an overview of your site and to let them click the links to bring up the pages they want. We start the example with a frame set element, indicating that the left frame takes up 20% of the window horizontally, and the frame at right takes up 80% of the window horizontally. And the frame at right is the target of hyperlinks. So we will name that frame main and start off by displaying a default page in it with the text, "This is the default page," as you can see in the slide. The default page is just named default.html. And we put that into the right-hand frame this way. And in the left-hand frame, all the links need to open the link to the main frame, which takes the 80% of the windows on the right. And we need to use O1 elements. The OL text defines an order list. An order list can be numerical or alphabetical. And use the LI text to define the list items. The LI text defines the list items. The LI text is used in ordered list, OL. Unordered list, UL, and in menu list, menu. As you can see in the examples, each list item opens up a corresponding web page. The attribute target allowed us to set target frames in this web page, which is main frame, defined by the hello.html. When the user opens up hello.html, the browser will separate the window into two frames. The left frame fills up with the web page menu.html. The right frame, which takes 80% of the window, fills up with the web page default.html and named main frame. Whenever the user clicks the list items in the menu.html, it will trigger the links and opens up the corresponding web page in the main frame. And this is for today's sections.